Count great again. I mentioned last night that Trump filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the government, his government, which then settled by giving him a $1.776 billion slush fund.
In the high-pressure theater of modern American politics, few moments capture public attention more than a clash between entrenched power and uncomfortable truth. For years, Donald Trump has shaped his public image with remarkable control, bulldozing criticism through confidence, charisma, and sheer force of personality. But what happens when that force collides with someone who refuses to step aside? Not on a debate platform, but under the bright lights of a late-night television stage. The title of this story reflects that unforgettable collision. Trump erupts after Jimmy Kimmel exposed his lies on live TV. In an interview destined to be talked about for years, Jimmy Kimmel, the man Trump once dismissed as a low-rated comedian, did what political rivals, commentators, and critics had failed to do. He came prepared with documentation, and in a breathtaking moment of live, unscripted television, he challenged a decades-old claim so deeply tied to Trump's identity that it triggered a complete public unraveling in front of millions. The program was billed as a sit-down conversation with the former president, a special primetime edition of Jimmy Kimmel Live. But from the beginning, it felt nothing like a normal comedy interview. The studio atmosphere was charged, tense, electric, and filled with a carefully selected bipartisan audience waiting for what might unfold.
Is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words, I have the best words, and I was a good student. I understand things, I comprehend very well, okay? Better than, I think, almost anybody.
Donald Trump stepped onto the stage to a chaotic mix of loud boos and thunderous applause. It was a jarring welcome, but one he seemed to thrive on. He fed off every sound in the room like a veteran performer stepping into familiar territory. Confident and energized, he appeared ready to overpower a host he clearly saw as easy to handle. He took his seat wearing a broad grin, completely at ease. Jimmy Kimmel, however, was different from the version audiences usually knew. His typical relaxed comedic style had vanished. In its place was a calm, measured seriousness. The composure of someone there not to entertain, but to press for answers. For the first 20 minutes, the conversation remained sharp but expected. Trump dodged questions, redirected the discussion, and praised his own achievements. Kimmel countered with facts, quietly correcting the record whenever needed and refusing to let familiar talking points pass unchallenged. Everyone in the room could feel the tension steadily building. Then came the turning point. Kimmel shifted to the subject Trump has long held up as the foundation of his credibility, his business career. Mr. President. Kimmel began evenly, his tone controlled and deliberate. You've built your entire public image around the idea that you're a self-made businessman, a master negotiator, a builder.
Started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. I came into Manhattan, and I had to pay him back, and I had to pay him back with interest. But I came into Manhattan, I started buying up properties, and I did great. And then I built the Grand Hyatt, and I got involved with the convention, so I did a good job.
You've often said your father gave you a small loan of $1 million, and that you turned it into a $10 billion empire. You've presented that as the ultimate American success story. Trump nodded confidently, smiling toward the audience. That's exactly right, Jimmy, he said. $1 million. And I built one of the greatest companies in the world. Most people couldn't do it. I could. I did. He looked completely comfortable, fully immersed in the story he had told for years. What he didn't realize was that he had just stepped directly into the most carefully prepared moment of the entire interview. Kimmel let the silence hang for a second. He didn't smile. He didn't react. His expression gave nothing away. Mr. President, he said quietly, though his voice now carried a sharper edge. I'm glad you mentioned that. The room went still. Kimmel leaned beneath his desk and lifted out a thick-bound document with a plain academic-style cover. We spent weeks preparing for tonight, Kimmel continued, steady and composed. What I'm holding is a certified copy of the 1991 New Jersey Casino Control Commission investigative report into your finances. It was unsealed last year. Our team has reviewed all 800 pages. Trump's smile faded, his eyes narrowed. This clearly had not been expected. You're correct, Kimmel said. Your father did give you a $1 million loan, but according to this report, that's only a small part of the story. He put on reading glasses and opened the binder, instantly shifting from host to examiner. This report details how, during the financial collapse of your casino empire, your father, Fred Trump, allegedly arranged a financial maneuver to keep your business afloat. According to investigators, his attorney went to your casino and purchased $3.5 million in chips, an undocumented transfer that functioned as emergency cash to help cover debts your company couldn't meet. The tension in the studio became suffocating. Trump's expression had changed completely. Kimmel continued, and according to the same report, that wasn't the end of it. Investigators also traced multiple shell companies allegedly tied to your father that funneled another $47 million into struggling projects connected to your businesses throughout the 1980s. Then Kimmel closed the binder halfway and looked directly at Trump. So the story, according to the official record, isn't simply that you took $1 million and built an empire. It's that your businesses were repeatedly rescued behind the scenes by your father's wealth whenever they faced collapse. The response was immediate. Trump shot up from his chair, his face twisted with anger. "Lies!" he shouted, his voice cracking across the studio. "That's a disgrace. Total setup. Fake news." He began pacing across the stage, hands slicing through the air as he raged. "You're a fraud, a hack. Who handed you that? The Democrats, the DNC? You have absolutely no right." Kimmel didn't move. He remained seated, holding the report open in front of him. "Sir," he replied calmly, "this isn't from a political group. It comes directly from the New Jersey State Archives. It's part of the public record." But Trump wasn't listening. The moment had gone beyond debate. A narrative he had spent decades building had just been challenged live on air with documents in hand, and he had no prepared response. Furious, he tore the microphone from his jacket. "This interview is over," he yelled. "You'll be hearing from my lawyers." Then he stormed off stage, pushing past stunned staff members before disappearing behind the curtains as aides hurried after him. For a few seconds, no one moved. The studio sat in complete silence. Jimmy Kimmel looked down at the report in his hands, then slowly raised his eyes toward the camera. There was no celebration on his face, no victory, only a heavy, quiet seriousness. "We invited the president here tonight for an honest conversation about his record," he said softly, as applause slowly began rising from the audience. "And it appears that's a conversation he was either unwilling or unable to have. The collapse was complete. A public identity built over decades shaken in a single televised exchange. Not by shouting, not by spectacle, but by calm persistence and documented facts."